All right, how is everyone doing today? And welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes. We check into great theories, concepts, discoveries, and other things that you should be dying to know about because they would be uh, able to improve your physical, mental, spiritual health and your independence and personal sovereignty. But these are things that the powers that be don't want you to know and will try to avoid, um, you know, letting this stuff surface. And you have to do some digging, and it's also somewhat difficult. So this is really a channel for diggers who are somewhat motivated to figure out what the real truth is. There's a truther movement going on out there right now, but they are very much disappointing me in terms of their zeal um, for really the truth, as opposed to all these different lacuna and dead ends that they keep going up. And anyway, we are on, this is a Bible Decode um, series that we're doing. I believe this is number 405. And we've explored uh, all kinds of aspects of the Roman origins hypothesis. I believe this is about the most important thing that anybody could learn right now, especially given this patriot movement, which is about to take over, um, which is all filled with a bunch of Christians who apparently aren't really particularly interested in the truth, but they're just like the liberals in that they just want to ram it down your throat, regardless of whether it's true or not. They grew up with it, and so they are not willing to question it. They're willing to question everything else, things that don't work in their favor. But this does work in their favor, and so they're quite mum about being willing to look into this. Now, there may be a very small percentage of them that are actually interested in the truth after all these years, and this video is for them. And um, basically, the Roman origins hypothesis is that the Romans are the true authors of the New Testament. It was written by the Romans as a psychological operation against the Jews. The Jews had been a big headache for the Romans for over 100 years, ever since the Romans tried to occupy Judea in 63 BC. Constant uh, tension between the Romans and the Jews, uprisings, revolts, insurrections, riots, and so on, culminating in a full blown war in 66 AD when some self proclaimed Jewish messiahs, as the Jewish Messiah was a Messiah who was a military commander who was going to help the Jews, uh, deliver the Jews from the Romans, kick out the Romans or the occupying power. Before that, it was the Persians and the Babylonians. Um, and That actually happened in 66 AD, causing the Roman ruler to abdicate and flee out of Jerusalem, head back to Rome, leaving the Jews uh, with a successful revolution there for a brief moment until Nero, the emperor, sent in the army under General Vespasian. And so this led to a 7 year long war. It took the Romans 7 years to put down the Jews, and they slaughtered so many thousands of them, and ultimately destroyed Jerusalem. They tore it um, limb from limb, so to speak. And the Romans were hard bitten by this war, though. Both Vespasian and his son Titus were wounded in the war, and they both eventually became the new Roman emperors and the imperial family called the Flavian dynasty of Caesars that was in charge of the Roman Empire from 69 until 96 AD. And the Flavians decided to put this psychological operation into play. I think it had been planned long before, but kind of vetoed by Nero and maybe earlier emperors. But it was all go for Vespasian and Titus, and they wrote up the Gospels to start with. And the Gospels portrayed a Jewish Messiah who was not a military commander, as the prophecies from Old Testament books, um, uh, had proposed. But instead, this Jewish Messiah was a Prince of Peace and believed in rendering unto Caesar and walking the extra mile and turning the other cheek, while at the very same time being um, aggressively hostile to the Jews when he overturns the tables of the Jewish money changers at the Jewish temple and cusses out the Jewish merchants who were selling small animals at the Jewish temple for the sacrifice, and so on and so forth. Jesus never does anything against the Romans, but does many, many things against the Jews. And Paul is even more on that same chorus there in the epistles, all of the 13 so called epistles that Paul was said to have written. Um, So you can see the Romans' fingerprints on the Gospels, that they satisfy the Roman motivations. But the more direct proof comes from actually reading Josephus, the Jewish historian who defected to the Romans and was living at and writing as an agent of the Caesars at Caesar's palace in Rome. His 7-volume history of the War of the Jews, that war from 66 to 73 AD, is basically a script for the Gospels. The parallels between the two documents are overwhelming and unmistakable, and it becomes obvious that they were written by the same hands. And that's why about a dozen authors uh, uh, in the 20th and 21st centuries have figured this out and have written books on the fact that the Romans are the true authors of the New Testament. This was known all the way back through time because the Romans passed it down amongst their royal families, which the the Caesars of Rome eventually became the popes. And so within the same families, it continued to be passed down. But it was also passed down by the Jews, because the Jews, especially the Talmudic rabbinical Jews, who were subject to a slightly different um, psychological operation from the Romans, they were witnesses to the fact that the Romans were the true authors of the New Testament. And so they passed it down as well. And so, um, this all comes down to the present time. But many authors um, throughout the years have reflected this in code in their works, including especially including William Shakespeare. Every one of Shakespeare's plays is on this subject, that the Romans are the true authors of the New Testament, but many other authors as well. And we will go over that eventually. But the main point for today is that the Romans wrote the New Testament, and when they did, they put in literally the kitchen sink. Everything, because it's a limited hangout, they had to be convincing, as to be a bona fide religion. And so they had to put in a lot of religious language, religious references, spiritual references. And so they used ancient Egyptian sources, ancient Roman and Greek sources, Greek philosophy, Stoicism especially, Persian religion and mythology, Zoroastrianism, and mystery schools, alchemy, uh, astrology, magic, shamanism, ancient Indian and ancient Chinese religion and mythology, Jewish uh, Old Testament texts. So it's all in there. None of it is original. The Gospels and the New Testament in general contain nothing original. It's all borrowed from older sources. The only thing original in there is the psychological operation and the mockery, derision, ridicule, and satires and parodies that are at your expense if you are a believer. Now, we're checking out a work from Kersey Graves, his book called 16 Crucified Saviors Before Christianity. This book came out in 1876, and he looks at these antecedent sources. Where did the Romans get the source material for the Gospels? Now, Graves is not aware of the Roman origins hypothesis, but he is aware that everything that is in the New Testament is not original and that it all has earlier sources. And so he puts in these commentary about, well, what these earlier sources were and what they are. And we're about to start chapter 32 of this book, which is called 346 Striking Analogies Between Christ and Krishna. And Krishna is one of the ancient Indian deities slash messiahs who lived approximately 1200 BC, or at least the stories go back that far. So at least 1,000 years before so-called Jesus' life. Now, section 1 is called Their Miraculous History and Leading Principles. 1. The advent of each Savior was miraculously foretold by prophets. 2. The fallen and degenerate condition of the human race is taught in the religion of each. 3. A plan of restoration or salvation is provided for in each case. 4. A divine Savior is considered necessary in both cases. 5. The necessity of atoning for sin is taught in the religion of each. 6. A god or son of God is selected as the victim for the atoning sacrifice in each case. 7. This god is sent down from heaven in each case in the form of a man. 8. The God or Savior in each case is the second person of the Trinity. 9. Krishna, as well as Christ, was held to be really God incarnate. 10. The mission of each Savior is the same. 11. There is a resemblance in name, Krishna and Christ. 12. Krishna, as well as Christ, was incarnated and born of a woman. 13. The mother in each case was a holy virgin. 14. The same peculiarities of a miraculous conception and birth are related of each. 15. Each had an adopted earthly father. 16. The father of Krishna, as well as that of Christ, was a carpenter. 17. God is claimed as the real father in both cases. 18. A spirit or ghost was the author of the conception of each. 19. There was rejoicing on earth when each Savior was born. 20. There was also joy in heaven at the birth and advent of each. 21. Krishna as well as Christ was of royal descent. 22. Their mothers were both reputedly pious women. 23. The names of two mothers are somewhat similar, Mary and Maya. 24. Each has a special female friend, Elizabeth in the one case and the wife of Nanda in the other. 25. Neither Savior was born in a house, but both in obscure situations. 26. Both were born on the 25th of December. 27. Both at birth were visited by wise men and shepherds. 28. The visitors conducted by a star in each case. 29. The rite of purification observed by the mothers of each. 30. An angel warning of impending danger in each case. 31. The incumbent ruler was hostile in each case. 32. A bloody decree in each case for the destruction of the infant Savior. 33. A flight of the parents takes place in both cases. 34. The parents of one sojourned at Mathura, the other at Mathura. 35. Each Savior had a forerunner, John the Baptist in one case, Bali Rama in the other. 36. Both were preternaturally smart in childhood. 37. Each disputed with and vanquished learned opponents. 38. Both became objects of search by their parents. 39. And both occasioned anxiety, if not sorrow, to their parents. 40. The mother of each had other children, that is, children begotten by man as well as God. 41. Both Saviors retired to and spent considerable time in the wilderness. 42. The religious rite of fasting was practiced by each Savior. 43. Each delivered a noteworthy sermon or series of moral lessons. 44. Krishna as well as Christ was called and considered God. 45. Each was both God and Son of God. 46. Savior was one of the divine titles of each. 47. Each was designated the Savior of man, the Savior of the world, etc. 48. Both expressed a desire to save all. 49. Each sustained the character of a Messiah. 50. Krishna as well as Christ was a Redeemer. 51. Each Savior was called Shepherd. 52. Both were believed to be the creator of the world. 53. Each is sometimes spoken of also as only an agent in the creation. 54. Both were the light and life of men. 55. Each brought life and immortality to light. 56. Both are represented as the seed of the woman bruising the serpent's head. 57. Was Christ a dispenser of grace? So was the Hindu Savior. 58. One was the lion of the tribe of Judah, the other the lion of the tribe of Sakya. 59. Christ was the beginning and the end. Krishna, the beginning, the middle, and the end. 60. Both proclaimed, I am the resurrection. 61. Each was the way to the Father. 62. Both represented emblematically the Son of Righteousness. 63. Each is figuratively represented as being all in all. 64. Both speak of having existed prior to human birth. 65. A dual existence, an existence in both heaven and earth at once, is claimed by or for both. 66. Krishna as well as Christ was without sin. 67. Both assumed the divine prerogative of forgiving sins. 68. The mission of each was to deliver from sin. 69. Both came to destroy the devil and his works. 70. The doctrine of the atonement is practically realized in each case. 71. Each made a voluntary offering for the sins of the world. 72. Both were human as well as divine. 73. Krishna as well as Christ was worshipped as God absolute. 74. Each was regarded as the Lord from heaven. 75. Krishna as well as Christ had applied to him all the attributes of God. 76. Was Christ omniscient? So was Krishna. 77. Was one omnipotent? So was the other. 78. And both are represented as being omnipresent. 79. Each was believed to be divinely perfect. 80. Was one Lord of Lords? So was the other. 81. Each embodied the power and wisdom of God. 82. All power was committed unto each. 83. Krishna performed many miracles as well as Christ. 84. One of the first miracles of each was the cure of a leper. 85. Each healed all manner of diseases. 86. The work of casting out devils constitutes a part of the mission of each. 87. Each practically proved his power to raise the dead. 88. A miracle appertaining to a tree is related of both. 89. Both could read the thoughts of people. 90. The power to detect and eject evil spirits was claimed by both. 91. Both had the keys to control, or the keys or control of death. 92. Each led an extraordinary life. 93. Each had a character for supernatural greatness. 94. Both possessed or claimed a oneness with the Father. 95. A oneness with his Lord and Master is claimed, also for the disciples of each. 96. A strong reciprocal affection between master and disciple in each case. 97. Each offers to shoulder the burdens of his disciples. 98. A portion of the life of each was spent in preaching. 99. Both made converts by their miracles and preaching. 100. A numerous retinue of believers springs up in each case. 101. Both had commissioned apostles to proclaim their religion. 102. Each was an innovator upon the antecedent religion. 103. A beautiful reform in religion was inaugurated by each savior. 104. Each opposed the existing popular priesthood. 105. Both abolished the law of lineal descent in the ancient priesthood. 106. Each was an object of conspiracy by his enemies. 107. Humility and external poverty distinguished the life of each. 108. Each denounced riches and rich men, and loathed and detested wealth. 109. Both had a character for meekness. 110. Chastity or unmarried life was a distinguishing characteristic of each. 111. Mercy was a noteworthy characteristic of each. 112. Both were censured for associating with sinners. 113. Each was a special friend to the poor. 114. A poor widow woman receives marked attention by each. 115. Each encounters a Gentile woman at a well. 116. Both submitted unresistingly to injuries and insults. 117. General practical philanthropy and impartiality marks the life of each savior. 118. Each took more pleasure in repentant sinners than in virtuous saints. 110. Both practically I'm sorry, this is 119. Both practically disclosed God's attempt to reconcile the world to himself. 120. The closing incidents in the earth life of each were strikingly similar. 121. A memorable Last Supper marked the closing career of both. 122. Both were put to death by wicked hands. 123. Krishna, as well as Christ, was crucified. 124. Darkness attended the crucifixion of each. 125. Both were crucified between two thieves. Okay, we're going to stop after 125 of these. I believe there's about 221 more. So that will probably occupy our time tomorrow. Um, but the list is pretty long. You probably could easily dismiss a few of these, but the overwhelming total, I don't believe you could dismiss. It seems pretty obvious that the story of Jesus, in many many aspects, is merely a copy of the story of Krishna. And I'm sure that's what the Romans were using when they wrote up the New Testament. Um, you know, uh, I would have to guess that Josephus is really just kind of a pen name for kind of a think tank of Roman intellectuals who all put their heads together to put together not only War of the Jews, the history, but also the Gospels, and also all of the other writings that they have made. I mean, this is really just, when it really comes down to it, it's common sense. The Romans had a massive empire. The Romans had full control of publishing, distribution, and censorship within their empire. Anybody who was going to be writing anything within the Roman Empire would have had to have been approved of and sanctioned by the Roman Caesars. Um, there was no illiterate Aramaic speaking fisherman or peasant in Judea who was going to be writing any type of book and having it distributed widely under any circumstances. So that's, you know, just common sense. But unfortunately, our movement only uses common sense when it's convenient to do so. So hopefully, we will start to wake up gradually over the course of time. But I think the outlook is pretty bleak, but we'll see. Like, share, subscribe, comment, contribute, and, you know, say anything to help me remain sane and optimistic. But I just don't see it in you guys. You're not answering the bell, and you're ignoring the alarm bells. All right. Please tune in for our next Bible Decode tomorrow, when we will go over some more similarities between Krishna and Christ. Um, Keeping in mind that Krishna, the story of Krishna, is 1,200 years older or more than the story of Christ. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great day.